Well, our international affairs editor Philip Turle is joining us here on set now. Philip, first of all, take us through, can you, the origins of all this unrest?
Well, first of all, this state of emergency is pretty unprecedented in New Caledonia. We haven't had anything like this for at least 30 years, since the 1980s, nearly 40 years since the events of 1988. I'll come back to that in a second. This is New Caledonia, which has new mayor as its capital. It is pretty strictly divided between the separatist movement, which is in favour of independence, the Kanaks, and the loyalist movement, the Europeans, the Caledonia as they're called, who are favourable with maintaining ties with France. This has always been the case ever since New Caledonia became part of France back in the 19th century. A few dates for you. 1853 was when it was annexed by the French. In 1946, it finally became an overseas territory. Then in the 1980s, there was a big increase in demands for independence by secessionist movements, by the Kanaks. This led to a hostage crisis, the Ouvert hostage crisis in 1988, where 4 French gendarmes were killed by the separatist movement. The French sent in a brigade of mobile police, of specialist forces to free those hostages, which led to the signing of what were called the Matignon Accords, which basically agreed to give the Kanaks more independence in the ground, more of a say in matters, and then the promise of an independence referendum 10 years later, after the signing of the next agreement, the Nouméa Accords in 1998, which led to those 3 referendums that we've held in recent years on independence in 2018, 2020 and 2021.
I mean, there certainly have been enough referendums, haven't there? I mean, and all 3 of them have been rejected.
That's true. And if you look at the map of New Caledonia, you'll see that it's pretty much divided amongst separatist lines. Those where there are more Europeans live are more in favour of voting for a ties to remain with France. Those where there are more separatists living are more in favour of voting to get their independence. So the actual outcome of these referenda were here in November 2018. 56.6% of New Caledonians voted to remain part of France. That fell to 53.2% in 2020, but then rose to 96.5% in 2021. Now, the reason for that is that the independence referendum of 2021 came just after COVID, and the separatist movement said, the independentists, that they didn't want the referendum to be held on that date. They wanted it to be delayed. They wanted time to get over COVID and also for people to mourn their dead, but the French government said no, the referendum is going to go ahead as planned, and that's why they withdrew from the referendum and said, OK, we're not going to vote. And we saw this huge increase in support for independence, because only those in favour of independence basically went to the opinion polls. So the attempts by the French to say, OK, this is what we're going to give you, we're going to let you vote for or against independence, have all proved up until now that the majority of people in New Caledonia want to remain part of France. So that is something that has also led to this flaring up of recent violence over the past few days.
So why then are the Kanaks so up in arms about it?
Well, as we've been saying, it's all to do with polling, and it's all to do with letting more people take part in elections. If you look at the population makeup in New Caledonia, this really explains it all. There are 271,407 people, according to the most recent census in 2018. 41% are Kanaks. Those are the indigenous population. 27.2% Europeans, and others 31.6%. If you combine the two others, 31.6 and 27.2, they outweigh the Kanaks. The Kanaks say that this new project to give more people who've come to the island since 1998 and the Nouméa Accords the right to vote, that will outdo them even more in their ability to have a say on what is going on in New Caledonia. And the other problem that the Kanaks have underlined is that they say that there is so much trouble on the island of unemployment, people can't find jobs, people find it hard to make ends meet, that all of this has been exacerbated as a result of this decision to enlarge the numbers of people who are eligible to vote to all those who've been on the island for only 10 years and not 25 years. That the Kanaks are feeling very upset about it, and that's why they have started this violent action. On top of that, that has all been fueled by more extremist groups in in New Caledonia who are pushing young people to take to the streets, pushing young people to riot, to set fire to shops, to pillage where they can. That has been condemned by the more traditional Kanak groups, but it's led to this situation where about 80% or so of the island is under threat or been damaged already, and that has also been exacerbated again by the number of guns that are circulating in New Caledonia. About 80% of the country's population, over 50% of the population, are said to have weapons, and that is also a big threat to the stability of the country.
Philip, good to have you with us. Philip Taylor, International Affairs Editor, here for us on France 24.